supposed to start? 2:20?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, how's everyone? I'm really honored that you're here. Just give me 1 second. I didn't, it's great. It's a little nerve-wracking, but I don't have anything to prove. So. I'm just trying to locate one last picture of what I might draw. And do we stop at, do you know what, anybody know what time we stop? Hey, Emily, good to see you. I was like, where's that voice? I know that voice. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and start here, guys, as long as everybody's cool with that. Yeah. So, let me just take one. Man, I wanted to draw Kim Jong-ji, this one pic that I have, but it wasn't like the top priority. But as I thought about it right now, I thought, oh, that would be cool, but I can't find it. It's a small image, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and start and jump in here, and just give me 1 second. And you can't really see what I'm going to draw. That's the bummer. I wanted to put it up here, but that's not going to work where you could see the actual pic. So I don't know how to let you see it. Is the problem. I'm almost ready. Okay, so let's see here. Is this crooked or straight? I mean, if I draw this way, I can't really see that. Can you see that okay? Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and begin. Thank you for joining me here. I might blow it and suck, okay? So I wanna just get that right up off the table, on the table, that drawing is really, really hard, okay? I'm allowing myself to suck here. The last demo I did here, I got too talkative, and it fell apart, it didn't work. And it bothered me. So I think it's cool just to watch somebody draw and have them basically shut up. So I'm gonna just draw, and I'm just gonna draw. I'll talk a few things through as I draw, but I don't know who knows what I do exactly. There's a lot on the internet and with schoolism, but the main thing I'm going to do here is called a blind contour, not really. Is everybody familiar with the blind contour, not really? Raise your hand if you know the blind contour, not really. Great, great. You're in for a treat. So that's great. And it's just how I draw. It's not the only way to draw, it's just the best way to draw. No, it's not the only way to draw, but it's how I draw. But I would encourage you to really take a moment when you leave and as you start drawing and pay attention to how you make marks. So the one way to make a mark would be that you look at the subject and you go, okay, yeah, and you just go, and you look back, and then you just go like this, and you just keep looking back, and you drew what you thought you saw. This is how I defeat the whole, if you're gonna draw with not doing it my way, I'm gonna make you look silly or defeat it. But I do think it's a cool way to draw. Anyways, so you drew what you thought you saw. So the blind contour not really is this. Let me explain blind contour. Does everybody know what blind contour is? If you don't, it's okay. Don't be ashamed or afraid. If you don't know blind contour, it's okay. Let me explain blind contour drawing. You're taught it in art school, and it's the stupidest thing you've ever done in your life, because all of a sudden you're drawing like Picasso, but you can't sell your drawings for anything like he can sell his drawings. So a nose is over here, and an ear is over here, and an eye is over here. So you're drawing a blind contours. I'm going to stare at the subject. I'm going to look and put my pencil on my paper, and I'm going to find a location. I'm going to put my eye right on your ear, and I'm going to move my eye and move my hand. It ends at the side of your face, and I'm going to move upwards, and there's some scrabbly little hair, and I'm going to move up to the top. It scribbles again, scratchy little hair comes down. Then there's an ear. I haven't even looked at my paper yet, and I'm going down to the neck, the sternomastoid, the collar. And then I'm going to draw your eye. So now I'm drawing your eye, and I'm drawing your nose, and I'm drawing, your mask, all this stuff. But I never look at my paper, and I look at it and I go, what in the purpose is this drawing? This is the dumbest thing. It looks like Picasso. This makes no sense. It's totally legitimate. But those lines are beautiful. They're way more beautiful than if your nervous little system, your little nervous system is like, oh, I can't make a mistake. You're all nervous that you're going to make a mistake. So you make this safe line. And it's a safe line because you want to look good to everybody, but it's a safe line, and it's a boring line, and it doesn't look like anything other than safe. This is abandonment because you're not paying attention. And when you do these lines and you look back at them, you go, oh my gosh, this is really a cool line. And so I've taught this all over. And when people take this class, I have them blind contour draw for a while, for an hour, 30 minutes. And when I walk around the room, I say, that is an incredible drawing, although it looks like a Picasso drawing. I said, if you took that and you showed your spouse, or your mom or whatever, and you said, look, here's what I learned in drawing class today with Thomas Fluharty, they'd be like, you paid for that? They wouldn't understand it. But the thing is I need to add something in and make it valuable, make it make it helpful. So the blind contour, not really, is I'm going to cheat. I'm not really going to do a full blind contour. So I'm staring at you. I start two other things. There's something called construction. So I look at you, the head is a sphere, the torso is a shape, the hips are a shape, the legs are cylinders, everything is constructed with shapes. That's called construction. You do an egg, as you learn in the books, you divide it into half, divide it into the third, the nose, the mouth, to the chin, right? That's how you draw textbook-wise. And it looks like an egg with two eyes on it. So how do you make it look real? Those are things that you use to move along in the course of drawing. Those are techniques and important concepts to know, but eventually you're going to want to fly. You're going to want to leave those structural moves to draw in your own way. You still can construct. I constructed for 40 years, and now I don't construct anymore because I want accidents to happen. I want magic to happen. So when I draw and I make a mistake, I don't quit. I don't cry. I'm saying, I like that. If my hand goes way too far, I'm like, wait a second, that's kind of cool. And so then when my drawing is all done and I draw and I look and I do a blind contour, look back at my paper, reposition my pencil in the right spot, look back, do another move, I look back, reposition my pencil, look back. I'm not really, as I'm helping myself to use blind contour, but not completely or entirely. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I'll shut up. I'm just going to do it now. So I'm also going to draw with this thick stick that you can no longer buy. And the thing is if you find the most awesome art supply ever, they will for sure continue it 3 weeks later. So that's what this is. This is a pastel stick. The prismatic, I draw with the Prismacolor 901 Indigo Blue. Some of you might know that I draw this way. It's all I use. I'm not sponsored by them. They're stupid. They haven't even paid attention to any of my emails. Do you realize people are drawing like this and I draw like this? They're like, no, nothing. It's all right. So you can't see what I'm going to draw, but I'm just going to go ahead and construct them. And I'll tell you that was a blind contour. You know, that was a blind contour drawing. Or if I do a move, I'll say that was entirely blind contour. Sometimes if I do a move and it doesn't feel right, let's say I'm going to draw the eyelash lid across. I'll do a move, it doesn't feel right, I'll look back, reposition my pencil, look back and do another blind contour. It tracks exactly. That's crazy because it happened to be a correct line. Sometimes if it's not quite right, I look back and go, and I'll try it again and I'll like, that one's cool. If not, I'll pick the other line. Whoops, sorry. I'll pick the other line. So I'm just gonna go ahead and begin here. Let me know if this is drawing upright in the right way. So I'm gonna draw this old guy here, and you might look at it and say, like, what's going on? So I'm not gonna construct, just so you know, I'm not gonna do an egg shape. I'm just gonna start with the left eye here. Let me blow this up just a tad. Before I go, if I could get a selfie with you guys, that would be cool. And if you don't mind, I'd put it up on social media. If you're in the witness protection program, let me know.
Get out.
Actually, leave now if you're in the witness protection program. Okay. All blind contour. Grab some sucker, fill in the space. Can you see that? Cool. So this is a guy with glasses. This is an interesting move. You see how I did that line previously, and when I did this second line, it actually tracked the same move. All blind contour, not looking at the paper. So that was blind contour again, and it didn't go crazy. It sort of tracked the same line. Right there, both of those lines are done, not even looking at my paper, and they both sort of line up for the frame, the glasses frame. Cool thing about drawing with this stick is you can get some really nice strokes with it. Move the cursor off of here. So I hope to get through a few drawings. So I'm working my way over to the left, to the right eye. Another thing that you're going to want to do is study the skull. Grab a, it sounds weird, grab a skeleton and order a skeleton online. You can do that. It's creepy, but they have, anatomically, just like fake skeletons. And really, I have a little miniature skull from a place called Evolution. It's out of New York City. And Evolution is they sell skulls and replicas, and it's a really cool place. So I have a little miniature skull, and I drew this skull like for years. Another thing I did is I have a skeleton and a fake replica, and I wanted to learn how to draw the clavicle. So it's a very important bone in the body, and so I took it off of the skeleton, put it in my pocket, Walked around with it for about a year. He's got a clavicle in his pocket. And I was at the bank, I'd like pull it out and look at it, and I'd, hold it and touch it, just sort of like, what's going on here? This is like thick over here, and it's flat over here. And I just sort of lived with the clavicle for a while. And it taught me how to draw the clavicle. I can't carry a pelvis around, that's kind of weird. But the clavicle is sort of a small sort of thing. But I would encourage you to really study the structure, like what's underneath, right? There's also something called insert and origin. So when you study the muscles, this was all blind contour, by the way, and as he looks down, it's a mass. I'm not worried about the whites of the eyes or the iris or anything. It's a mass. See how those lines connected right there? That was crazy. It's a bag under his eye. Then underneath this, well, I won't even explain that. Just this is not a kind of drawing they teach you in drawing school. So this is just drawing after drawing for 40 years. It's incorporating a lot of ideas. I'm just trying to feel this out. The skull goes up. Sort of moving my way up this skull, up his head, and I'm moving by grabbing these crazy folds that he has on the furrow of his brow. It's really crazy stuff. And they're designs. Like all of that is a design. And he's got this hair. Can you see that? Yeah. His hair. You see the line that you construct when you do an egg, I'm aware of that right here. It's going around, so I could indicate it right now. Another thing to think about is when you draw the ear is a perfect, if this is the side of the head, and this is the actual skull and the nose, you did a dotted line around the egg of the head. This actually goes back further. The ear lines up on that dotted line as you wrap a line around the skull. Those ears are always going to fall right on that dotted line. So if he's looking upwards, can you see that? Oh yeah? Yeah, here we go. So if you're looking upwards, right? It's a dotted line, dot, 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 there's that ear. So it's just something to think about and remember. It's pretty basic. I'm going to just jump back into drawing and try to shut up. I need to find this philtrum right underneath this nose. And I go down, so I find the philtrum. And the philtrum is that little, how do you explain a philtrum? It's that little scalped out, beautiful thing it's actually brilliantly designed, because when you smile, it disappears, and you need some blank skin in there, some skin that's waiting to be smiled with to allow that smile, because if you didn't have that philtrum, it would be like, and it wouldn't go. So that's a scallop. And I track that down from the nose. There's a center line here. Very, 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 very important. I've worked, some of these people, friends of mine, they were in my Patreon class. My Patreon class, Patreon.com. We're working on drawings together, and that is a major, major mistake that all of them make. No, people make this, they're just not aware of it. It's a dotted line all the way down that egg. And so things are coming out and shooting back, coming out and shooting back. So the philtrum shoots out, goes in. The upper lip shoots out, comes back in here where my little goatee is. And then the chin shoots out and it comes back. But there's this dotted line that they all have to come back to. Otherwise you start drifting over here and drawing a mouth if you're not aware of that. So I'm tracking this philtrum down into that top lip, and I'm going to indicate that right there. I really wish you could see the drawing and the image. It would be helpful. Cigarette. See how lightly I'm drawing? Very important. Well, the paper won't let you erase. That's why it's very important. But don't get heavy-handed. So you can see that the question that I did pose earlier is, how do you make your marks? That's something that you have to ask yourself. Andre the Giant, he'd be like, hit him with the rock. And you'd be like, hit him your way. I don't know, what's my way? So you have to figure out like what your way is, how you're going to make your marks. Sometimes people aren't even thinking how they make their marks. But now you will be. So I'm really building the face is what I'm doing. I'm moving slowly down this face. I'm also thinking three-dimensionally, that this is round. This whole thing here is round. The palate of the teeth, it's round. It's not straight. The eyeball is round, so the skin is wrapping around that eye. It's not a straight line. And then this is the egg, where it starts getting dark around this side of the egg. Dark side of the moon over here. Nice little drop shadow where this cigarette is dropping, and it's sort of form revealing. So thinking three-dimensionally like you're an ant crawling on this round cratered face. This goes down underneath, this goes straight, and then this kind of comes at you and goes down. So this shadow would do the same exact thing, and that's going to reveal form. It's going to make it look round. The neck is in there, but I'll get to that. I just want to shape this out and move on to another drawing. Now I'm going to draw the side of his head. Remember, there's a front plane and the side plane. Very, very important. His hairline's back here. And the ear is a really bizarre thing. And just how do you learn how to draw an ear? You just draw ears. That's how you learn. And there's no tricks. I remember somebody saying, anybody got a trick on how to draw the nose? I was like, trick? Like, is there a trick? There's no tricks to any of this. This is like, you know, it's like there's ideas that are based off of, you know, proof and facts of like, this is what the shape is. And so shapes are extremely important. And because I don't construct anymore, I'm still constructing and fully aware in my mind of the shape of this thing. So this is an old man. I do think old men are easier to draw. Women are really difficult to draw because if you have a wrong move, all of a sudden you've got a not pretty woman. Or if you're drawing a little kid and you don't know how to draw, you have a monster on your hand. So it's like, it's tough. This is some tough stuff. But this is how I shape out my drawings, and I'm thinking three-dimensionally. I'm thinking about it as round. I could easily construct this sucker like this. This goes down, comes like this. This is how we're taught, right? Here's the center. Here's the bomb. Here's the nose coming down, and then this is all. And you got the socket here, the eye socket, side of the plane of the head. Did you see? Can you see that? You can't really see that, can you? You see that? All of this construction. This is what I mean by basic construction. Learn it, do it, but don't stay there necessarily if you move in a different direction. So this is good enough to see. I mean, he's got a big collar around his head, this big collar. Another thing is, as I'm drawing this collar around his head, it's I'm aware this is a cylinder here. This is a round cylinder. Sometimes people draw and they forget. They're just copying the photo. So this big collar is wrapping around his neck, so it should be round. It should come around, and then there's the centerpiece with his shirt right there. But all of this is sort of shadowed out, and that is essentially a drawing that is a workable drawing for me. I'm going to move to another drawing and maybe work a little bit faster on just more like quick sort of drawings and stuff. I'll save a few questions to the end because they start to become where I can't focus anymore. This is an interesting pinnock. Let me just see if I can just show you if you can see this. Hold on. Does anybody know what time it is?
46.
What is it?
2:46.
2:46. So this would be, see this, I'm going to draw this. I might draw both of them, but this way you get to see full figure. I'm going to construct this out a little bit, and there's a lot of cool things in this that you could watch me fail, or I don't think I'm going to fail, but just to see it from this perspective. Or this take. So I might start this one. I'm just going to shut up. Say what? So this is good. This is a good shape to start with. I'm gonna pull it together because that eye needs to go over here a little bit. The eye brow is coming out. The ball is round in there. Again, that philtrum is shooting out. See the little lips right there? And the lips has a whole different teaching moment. I'm just not going to go there right now. Just rather draw.
Just on the face.
You can see I haven't constructed the body yet, but I will. So anyways, you can see that this is a solid structure that I have going. It's not exactly perfect, but I'm not really worried about it. Sometimes I just like almost quick studies that really, it's pretty solid. She's pretty much there. Another thing this photo does not have going for it is a very clear, distinct light effect. You always want to pick a pic that has really good light hitting on it. Like a very clear, there's the shadow, there's the light. This doesn't have any of that. And so you're going to set yourself, basically what you want to do is set yourself up so you don't go jump off a roof at the end of the day. Because this stuff is really tough. And the guy's so good, I can't do this. Look, you drew from a blurry 72 DPI photo. What do you expect? You gotta set yourself up. So here's some basic construction. I'm just gonna indicate some of this right now. Again, blind contour. I would also encourage you to take a look at Andrew Loomis, Loomis, Andrew Loomis, and he had a really cool way of drawing, of blocking out the figure. His books are phenomenal. Andrew Loomis. There's also George Bridgman, and these guys help me to really figure out how to draw with this structure. And it looks something like this. It would look like this. Can you see that? And then this is sort of tipping back, this pelvic area here. This is the, he breaks it down into these shapes which are helpful for me. And then this is the other side, but this is called the great trochanter, and then the hip goes down to that. So it ends up doing something like this. If you can see, it's already sort of designed in there just with knowing this structure here. Here's the clavicle, here's the sternomastoids back here, the trapezius, the deltoid, coming down. But you see, that's already a nice shape. It's already structured out, but this is underneath. But I'm not doing that in this drawing. I'm saying you need to pay attention and go look at Andrew Loomis, learn how to shape these things out, and just if you can do tons of these things, you're well on your way. Just they're just like gestural drawings, and they're key. But I would encourage you to do a ton of these things. So I'm going to do them here, but you're not really going to see them, but I'm fully aware of them. Because the jacket is blocking it, you know. It's a boxy, blocky jacket. Oh, she's got a purse, actually. But because I'm not blocking out so many things now, my drawings tend to have a certain look to them because I'm not blocking things out safely. And they start taking on a very peculiar look, which is particular to the way I draw, because things are, I call it wonky. They're off, they're slightly off kilter. And that has a massive appeal. A lot of people love that. The snobby representational art cult, I'll call it a cult. Don't tell anybody I called it a cult. But it is a cult because they think they're so right and everybody is so wrong. So if you exaggerate, oh, you're just, a cartoonist. Well, I'm not. I'm using exaggeration and I'm using classically trained education, principles, facts. But I'm not going to go bow down to science because this is how you draw a nose. Well, that's not how Hirschfeld drew a nose, Al Hirschfeld. That's not how David Levine drew a nose. So you know what I mean? Like, why are we bowing down to the facts, boring facts, and say, that's why you look at a representational piece and you just go, bored. Boring. So I know I sound angry, but I'm not. See this perspective here? Very, very aware of. The knees are parallel, they're going up to a point. The boots are going to go up, the feet. Can you see that? There is a hand in here too. It's coming down. Okay, so this is cool. So she has a in her hand she has a phone, and people will say, "How do you draw hands? I like the way you draw hands." And I say, "I don't know." It's like I just draw hands like I draw hands, and there's no real way. But I think on Patreon, you guys, I did a hand video, right, where it was just like some basics and pretty structural concepts that were, I hope, helpful, practical. There's a science to it. There's a perspective to it. Things are even. Knuckles are even. So this hand looks wonky, right? Like her hand isn't that big. Like it is now. But that's what I mean. The cult of representational teaching is just like you can't embellish, you can't have fun, you can't make something say something differently. So this feels really good to me. This structure is all included in it, but I didn't do it over here because I don't have to, because I've been doing this now 40 years, and I just don't draw that way. But that blind contour not really is killer. I think it'll transform your work if you give it a chance. This is, I don't know what she's holding here, some sort of... But you have to be thinking about three-dimensionality, that her arm is behind her. I'm not just copying the photo, because then if you just copy something, it's going to be like, did you realize there's a rib cage in there? But if you know that the rib cage is in there and you actually drew it here, fine. I'm not going to draw the rib cage, but I know it's there. That is going to be correct. If I was just copying a photo, anybody that knew how to draw would say, you didn't really know that the rib cage was there. You don't have any form or dimension or any roundness to your work. You know, like you're not drawing in an educated way that's built. It goes back to the scientific facts. Does that make sense? So, anyways, that's one drawing. I'm trying to think of when do you guys know when we're done? I think I have an idea. 3:20. Okay. So it is officially 3 o'clock. We've got 20 minutes. If you want to ask me some questions, feel free. I could draw for another 10 minutes and leave it for 10 more afterwards. But when I'm done, I probably have to scoot out pretty quick because some people are wanting to say hi back at my booth, and you're welcome to come and join me at my booth, that's fine. But I probably won't be able to hang out and chat a little bit, if that's okay. So I'm drawing off of Flickr. I found this amazing photographer that just, oh man, she's just amazing. I'll give you her name when I'm done. Just so cool. Go and draw this as a profile. I'll do a little profile here. This is maybe someone from the Middle East with a head covering on, and it's a profile. Pretty cool. Does anybody have one question for right now? Yeah. Let me just stand up. Okay. Yeah.
So with the shadowing, do you also do a line contour, or are you usually looking?
That's a great question. I am looking now for form. When I go into form and I start, so I do this quick establishing drawing that's all solid. It's all ready to go. Now I need to add value. I need to add tone. I need to add shading. And I need to do that to make it look round and make it become alive, right? So that's a whole nother idea in reality in a universe, value, trying to figure that out. But I do look, I'm watching what I'm doing, and I look at my paper. Anything, there's no wrong or right, that's the point. You're not like, you just looked. Like, that's not at all what we're talking about. Just however you can make this drawing come alive and be accurate and really sing, that's all you're after. It's like, it's just a tool, right? You want to be awesome, you want to make an awesome drawing, excuse my language, however the hell you do that, go for it, right? Like, go for it. If you draw standing on your head and you're unbelievable, how do you do that? Like Kim Jong-un freaking drew out of his head everything. How? He was a freak of nature. That's a compliment. So you can't rein him in. You can't necessarily rein everyone in, but I'm saying remember these principles. They're fundamentals. They're fun. They are fun. Putting fun in fundamentals. You got to know the fundamentals. And looking at your paper is not wrong. Just when I'm establishing something, it's just the way I do it. But I do think there's an incredible value with making a line not looking. That is way cooler than a line with your nervous system involved. So I'm just going to maybe do this rather big and let me just see here. That big cheekbone right there. You see that line? That's a form revealing line. It wasn't a straight line. It's that fabric is being defined by the zygomatic arch. That's a scientific word for zygomatic arch. That was a joke. You're supposed to laugh. The plane changed right here. Bam. But it's done. Like, this drawing is done. I'm gonna darken her. She has a darker complexion, so I'm gonna darken this out. You can see I'm not drawing eyelashes. I'm drawing shapes. Draw shapes. Stop drawing eyelashes. Get yourself together. It's like somebody said, hey, when you painted the tree, I never saw the tree because you painted all the leaves. But again, this is what, 5-minute drawing, right? And it's just some basic shapes, some basic concepts. All blind contour, not really. Then this goes down and down to her hand. Can you see that? Her shoulder. It's crazy. Her little hand comes out. That's her hand. You can say, that's not a really good hand. I'm not done yet. I'm calling that a hand. But that's where wonk gets you out of a lot of stuff. Hey, it's wonky. What do you expect? Seriously, if you showed this to anyone out on that floor, they'd be like, who did that? But I'm not done yet. Again, all this is blind contour. So this doesn't look good at all, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's really not far off if I had to do a few minor corrections on it. It's actually I would probably have my wife pose for this hand because the picture is pretty bad. And I have people in Patreon sometimes that will pick maybe a picture that isn't like the best, and all of a sudden they stack it against themselves, right? And it's like, wait, you need something better. This is tricky stuff, right? So anyways, you'll see, I'll show you the photo here. It's Again, her head is big, but this was the actual pic that I worked from. And it is 3:09, 3:10. I have 10 minutes left. I might draw one more little thing and take a few questions. This is cool. Here's a cool little shape right here. This would be an old bag lady walking, and I'm just gonna block it out really tiny, just to say down to her chest area. Her hips goes all the way down, all the way down. Her head of her shape is like, the shape of her head is like this. Try to draw this in a few minutes. She's holding a walking cane. And you know, folds are a story. Folds are something that you're not just copying a fold. You're really, it's doing something. It's affected by what's underneath. And it's called a push, a crush or a pull. Like this is a crush. This is a pull fold. You can see this would be a pull fold here. This being pulled. And then there's crushes. So there's a whole science and an anatomy to folds as well. I always say this, I'm not trying to elevate us. Artists are pretty freaking smart because you have to know a lot of stuff. You have to say, hey, that highlight wouldn't fall on that ball like that. Here's what happens. And it's like, doctors don't know that. But they make a lot more money. So. But that's not entirely true either. I don't have a really sharp pencil anymore. I need a sharper pencil to pull that off her eyes. So if anybody sees it, they'll be like, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. It's not true. But it is also, the eyes are usually shadowed out. And I could say, I think I may have even said it, stop making the whites of the eyes white. They're not. They're usually a 3 value. They're usually darker than the lightest area on flesh, which is really interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna probably stop here because I'm just gonna flail through this here. She's a bag lady. She's got all those bags, but there's some great folds going on here. And yeah, anyways, there's a whole understanding of how a leg is walking and supporting the figure. Usually there's a straight line that, if a straight line through the body where the leg itself is sort of the supporting leg is usually straight in line with the head. Know where the pelvic is here, the pelvis. It comes down, this leg's doing this, and then this is going back, and this is doing this. You see that? Oh, sorry. There we go. But you see just the gesture of that foot, that leg going back. From the knee back, and it's curved. Everything is curved. There's another guy I would tell you to look at, but you have to spit the bones out because he's such a weirdo. Bern Hogarth is I've learned a lot from him, but he's weird in his drawings. Like if he draws a lady with, showing you the breasts, they look like teacups. Like I've never seen that, but it's just this weird thing. You have to spit out the bones and say, that doesn't work, but he teaches dynamic drawing. Bern Hogarth. Be very careful as you look at his work. But you can pick up some pointers out of it. We have about 5 minutes. If I can get a groupie shot when we're done, the selfie. But any other questions? Yeah.
So I know, like in my experience a lot, I draw actually mostly from like imagination. And so this is kind of like when you're drawing from reference, but would you say like, are there aspects that you can carry over to it, or is it kind of the same thing where it's like, blind contour to like the highest degree? It's like super blind because you're not even looking at anything.
Super what?
Like super blind contour.
Yeah.
You're not even looking at anything. Or is there maybe like some lessons that you carry over?
I'm not exactly sure what your question is, but if I could, so I'm going to answer a dumb answer, but the main thing you want to do, because you have you graduated yet?
No.
Yeah. So this guy drew me, and really cool drawing, and it's really cool. So, what was your name again?
Finn.
Yeah, it's a great name. It's a very unique name, Finn. So I thought I was going to say Colin or something, but it's Finn. And all I would say to you at this stage is go get classically trained and draw the figure as much as possible representationally. Then once you know the rules, you can break them. You can also exaggerate. You got to know the rules first, got to know the fundamentals, and you got to learn how to draw, not out of your head primarily, but you got to learn how, you got to put information in. It's a computer, it's software. You're drawing a figure that's being, however it works, it's just being deposited into your brain, and then later, 40 years later, you can draw in a different way. So that's what I would say. Did I answer the question? Probably, and it's okay if I didn't. You can say no, not at all.
Can I rephrase it?
Yeah.
Go for it.
How can these techniques apply to imaginative drawing?
And that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a great. Wow, that was amazing. I did it now. All I would say is this. Blind contour, not really, is one way to draw. For me, it's just how I draw. There's no wrong or right. So can it help you? Absolutely. If you draw blind contour for a week, just look back and see if it's helping you. If it doesn't help you, fine. But I know the way you make marks, you have to pay attention. Like, what am I doing with my left hand when I bowl? Like when I'm going to really win a game, I say, hey, what do you do with your left hand? They're like, I don't know. And then they throw a gutter ball because they're paying attention to their left hand. My whole thing here now is like I'm making you think about things. So when you now go, you use this as an idea, you see if it works, but don't give up on it. Just say, you got to ask yourself, how can this help me in an imaginary world? What I would say is when you draw from the figure and you're classically trained, you draw the anatomy, you study the anatomy, you can draw out of your head authoritatively, if that makes sense. I like the word authoritatively. I sound cool when I say that word. But what do you think? I mean, does that answer it at all? It always goes back to education and getting that teaching, studying with great teachers. Really, I'm studying plein air painting, and I study with Joe Paquette, and I'm learning a ton of stuff, and I'm small in that class. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's great because I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm learning and I'm getting better. So any other questions? Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, Stella. Stella? Right. Good, great to see you.
I'm just curious, was it a choice or you always started with left eye when you draw?
That's bizarre. I don't really understand how and why. I don't get it. I don't really know how I started that way, but I did. And you know, again, as I move across, I'm making comparative judgments, and well, that's as far away as this and that. One other thing I'll say is if an eye is angled, I say, oh, that's angled because the nose is angled this way, and I say, no, not at all. I say, how do I find a true north? How do I find a true 90? It's usually like a door jamb or it's the edge of my computer. I say, oh, I can see now that eye is tipped just slightly, 5%, because there's a true north. So if you can locate these boundaries, these structures, they're going to help you figure out angles and stuff. So I got one more question because I think we're almost done at 3:20. Yeah.
I was just wondering, have you found that your line contour and stylus drawing is translated over to the plein air painting?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I'm trying to paint like that, and I'm not there yet. I'm still trying to grab principle, and when I grab principle, I'm no longer dancing. I'm trying to figure out how to walk in these shoes. Does that make sense? It's tricky. I'm a slow learner, so when somebody teaches me something, it takes me a while to work it out, and I suck for a while. But once I figure that out, I'm stronger, and all of a sudden I'm better. That's not a brag. I'm just saying that's how I notice. Like, I'm really getting good at this. This is feeling really cool. And then the next day, I suck, right? Like, it's like this duality of Jekyll Hyde, which we're all guilty of. You know? Yeah. One more question.
How did you get started using the blue?
Okay, great question. I was in my studio one night at 2 a.m. I don't work till 2 a.m. anymore, but I did, and I went to reach in a box or something. I was looking for something, and I found this little tiny stub of blue, and it was in 901. And I was like, wow, this is wild, and I liked the pencil, and I did a mark, and I said, oh, that's actually cool. That reminds me of animators. They draw in the blue, you know, the lighter blue, and I was like, that's really cool. When I wake up, I'm gonna draw something with it, because I love drawing primarily more than anything. If people say anything about me, they never say, I love your paintings. They say, I love your drawings. And I'm like, cool, I'm working on my paintings, that's fine. But the point is, I fell in love with drawing. And I drew Hellboy, posted it, and it struck a nerve. And what it was it was saying, hey guys, we all love this, right? We all love drawing. It's like, we're hitting on the same groove. It's like hedonism. You go somewhere, and you're all like enjoying the sunset. We're all enjoying drawing, and that's really the appeal that I'm doing, and I'm saying I'm going to focus on drawing, and I've been doing that for 7 years now. We're done if you want. Cool. Cool, let's go a little more. Yeah, it's cool. So anyways, I just drew that way, and then I started like discovering. I grabbed a piece of paper because I needed to draw, and it was this thick stock from my printer, and as I grabbed it, I made a line, and I started drawing, and I made a mistake, and I was like, crap, this sucks. And then I would grab my eraser and erase, and it was like, nah, it wasn't like letting me erase, and it was like, nope. And I was like, and I grabbed an X-Acto knife, and I started scratching, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I was just like, and then I just started doing all these drawings like crazy, and then I did another brown drawing, but then when I put blue up, everybody like was like, this is cool. And then like I just kept drawing like a madman over the last 7 years, and then people were like, you do a book on that? And I was like, yeah. So it just this thing that became my thing, and then people like would send me the drawings, people would draw in the blue line, and it's just this crazy thing, like you just stumble upon something, yeah. Guys, thank you. Let me just shoot a shot real quick if I might. Thank you so much. Thank you. Everybody ready? Hey! Nice, thank you. Thank you, guys. And then, okay, quick question. Who was at the last drawing where I sucked really bad? Amir was there, right? You were probably the only one?